Hey everyone, welcome to another AI conversation. Today is going to be an interesting one. I'm joined today by Carl Joe Javier, who I've been talking to over the holidays. Welcome to the show, Carl.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me, and hello to everyone who is watching.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to jump off kind of the at the inception of our chat, no? Because I've known about you for some time, no? But maybe for the few people who don't know you, maybe the one person who doesn't know you,
Eh,
maybe give us a brief background, what you've been doing, and then we can talk more about current events.
Sige, thanks for overselling my hype. I appreciate it. Um, but yeah, I think we met in my capacity as a CEO of mga podcast. So I was the CEO for 4 years, and I was part of building that team for about 6 years. Before that, I've done a bunch of things: academe, comics, and of people mid career. Um, I think I'm just the littlest bit younger than you, but I am midlife, mid career
Oh, let's
of
not talk too much
multiple
about age,
careers,
pero
and I'm
tama ka.
watching. Yeah, yeah. But that's part of it, eh. 'Di ba? Parang we're watching how everything's unfolding, and we're thinking about what is next. And
Hmm.
I think that's where the root of the obsession is. Oh my God, what's next? And that what's next led me to you. Because we had some I worked on an AI story with Carol Ilagan that she reported. You were one of the resources for that story. We'd been on panels, I remember, and so I needed someone to talk to. I asked friends. JC Punong Bayan told me, "Why haven't you contacted Doc Ligot yet?" And so I did, and so that's where the conversation starts with this fascination, this strong interest in where we are going next.
Wow,
Yeah.
parang 6 degrees of separation. Certainly, Carol Ilagan, Prof.
Mm,
Carol Ilagan, I've collaborated with via PCIJ especially. JC and I
yes.
run into each other. The last time I saw him was in the Manila Book Fair. He was promoting his books.
Mm,
Um, and then sabi nga niya
mm.
sa akin, I never claimed it, pero sabi niya, Doc, you're now the de facto AI guru of the Philippines. Sabi ko, ganun na ba yun? May ganun na pala. So yeah, I'm very happy for these things.
Embrace na.
Yeah, let's embrace it.
Oo.
Talking about embracing things. I remember when we had our first chat, um, you were taking a course
Yeah.
at University of Edinburgh. Can you tell us more about that course? Because I think it's got a lot to do with the topic we can talk about today.
Yeah, so the course was on data, AI, ethics, and the ethics of responsible innovation. So yun yung three broad strokes, and it breaks it down into a number of curricula. I found myself there because I had participated. Actually, my team was a finalist team in the AI journalism competition. And ang nanalo eventually, Filipino din. Rappler won
Ah,
the
so AI
competition.
journalism,
Pero andun kami.
can you segue a bit into that? What
Yeah.
was the contest about, and what was your entry?
Sige. So the competition was funded by Open Societies Foundation. It was called it was called the AI in Journalism competition. And they invited teams from all over the world. So talagang super global. It was so global na ang hirap umattend ng classes kasi iba-iba yung time zone ng mga tao. So syempre Pilipinas were kind of out here. Ang galing kasi multiple Filipino teams were part of this. But it was finalist 12 teams. And the challenge was to figure out how AI could be integrated into journalism for maximum impact. Kasi syempre, and this is a thing that's happening, oh my God, AI is going to destroy everything. Wala nang point. Why will we even need to work? Which is actually worth asking, no? Parang what will work look like 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Over it was immense, lalo na after the release of GPT in 2022 of OpenAI's ChatGPT in 2022. So once that public product came out, everyone was just like, there's no sense in doing anything anymore. And so part of this competition, and you can Google and find all of the entries and everything, was figuring out how to use generative AI and other models as a tool. So what Rappler built, and of course you can check on them. They're the ones who won, but yung parang a piece of news can be uh re regenerated into other ways of consuming it. So yung bullet from long article to bullet point, from bullet point to something readable, and then I think at some point they were proposing that we would build a platform na may comics ganon. Another one that was interesting, which I super like, is as one South American team developed like a tool na pag linagay mo yung pangalan ng politiko, lahat ever ng kaso na naging ano niya in their news database lalabas. And then you could build a dossier. For us sa Puma Podcast, I wasn't that interested in a specific product, but I was interested in evolving a workflow. Kasi yun talaga yung paniniwala ko eh. Human AI, and then human AI together on a piece of work. And so that's what we entered in. Nag-finalist pero hindi nanalo, but to be among the team that received the training, and it was a 4 months training process with classes, with everything, to familiarize ourselves with AI, with what generative models are. Doon ko first na encounter yung salita at yung site na hugging face. Yung ganyan, parang, okay, may ganito pala, and this is where we build from. So going from zero, going from like tech speculation, Terminator, it's gonna end the world, to understanding everything, and then trying to integrate AI into our workflow, which by the end of it, by the time that I left mga podcast, quite integrated ng AI in our workflows. I cut so much time down. I mean, I hope it doesn't sound off to say like I got rid of jobs, but like in jobs were replaced. So low level, parang grind away jobs were replaced, and that freed up more time for more creative output. Ganun.
Yeah, I mean, my takeaway from what you went through, and this is something that I experienced at the early days. Now, when I say early days, 2023, when I started talking about
Mm-hmm.
AI, it's really content. And mamaya I hope maybe if we have time, we can delve into that. No?
Yeah.
That sounded underwhelming, honestly, to the academics I've met and maybe the private sector na parang, huh?
Yeah.
It's all about content? So ano yan? But then if you reflect on it, how much of our life is really driven by content? Easily 90% or more is content. No? And
Yes.
if AI can mess around with 90% of your life, parang ganun, how it can be. But anyways, again, before we get to that,
Mm-mm.
get back to your course. Can you talk more about, what were the things you picked up? Because you find it interesting that we now have courses on ethics and AI, kasi it's still a
Yes.
relatively new space.
Yeah. So what happened was, because of AI, the AI competition. Again, my mind is there, but I wanted to delve further into it. And ito yung siguro medyo weird, or medyo not as normal for most people, I guess, in my early 40s, when I was reflecting on what I would like to be. The thought was, I want to be a philosopher. And that's I mean, medyo, let's be an entrepreneur, let's be a ganito, hindi, like I want to be a philosopher now. I want to find a way into philosophy and into understanding, parang being an opportunity for me to think deeply about things, that I don't know how that comes across, but that's what I was looking for. And in that, I also did not want to become parang monkish na existence lang. Gusto ko, thinking deeply is still connected to the world, but hindi siya full retreat. Like, kasi when you're in journalism, you're like, oh my God, this thing is happening and I have to cover this, and this story needs to come out, and people need to know about this thing, and we need to be investigating this piece, but this and this and this, and dami nangyayari. Which means that you lose focus on meaning sometimes and depth. So that's where I found myself taking this course. And really, it asks the deeper questions about what is AI for? Because right now, it's what can I replace? Should we use AI or not? Because nakakatakot yan, and it's going to displace everyone and all that. And what I find is that it's reactionary. And that's okay. Kasi kailangan natin mag-react because it's fast. But then this specific moment necessitates slowing down, thinking about what does this mean for us? What does that mean for humanity? And this course brings in those ideas. It starts with, as you know, it's funny because it's It gives pieces on utilitarianism, deontology, values-based philosophies, and then begins to integrate that into AI, like when or data. When this data is here, philosophically, is it okay to take this data? And it's there, for example, just easy example for us sa Pilipinas, would it have been okay to install, temperature checks everywhere and then take our data alongside the picture yung face natin? And if those things have our faces, what will that be used for incidentally, without intention, if someone hacks into that? And I never thought about those things. And so it was very enriching to get to think about, who am I giving my data to and what for? Minsan kasi bigay lang tayo para makuha natin yung password para makakonect tayo sa Wi-Fi. And the immediate threat is always baka ma-hack ka. So it's always a cybersecurity threat, but it's never an ethical threat that we talk about. So yeah, I don't know if that's, but yeah.
No. I mean, there's just so many layers, no, based on what you discussed. I think it was established nga, we did some work in human rights, no, over the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we
Yeah.
get time to, maybe we can publish those results and I can share that with you separately.
Mm-mm.
We used Google Trends, no, as an indicator of interest on many topics. No? And what we found was, during the quarantine period, yung ECQ, MCQ, remember those?
The
We
the
use that as
CQ. So
our parang independent variable. What happens to these search trends during these periods? No? And what we
mm-hmm.
found, every time there's a CQ, and yung magnitude of the CQ drives movement, the interest in these other things will ebb and flow based on the level of quarantine. So in a way, it was a good. Of course, people depending on where you sit. No, I know in the academic world they don't really give Google Trends too much credibility. Pero it seemed to indicate that during times of emergencies and what do you call it? And but public health, something like that. No, concerns for other things like data privacy go out the window. Parang ganun ang
Yes.
thing.
Yes,
So may
yes.
hierarchy of things, no? Anyway, sige. Now that you talked about philosophy, no, maybe that's a good place to start. Um, I'm wondering, did you formally study philosophy? Was that always part of your repertoire? Kasi you've got a very very rich background in history, no? So how do you feel about getting into
Mm.
philosophy as far as AI is concerned?
So I guess first off is the parang my intellectual limitation is I'm kind of awful at math.
Okay,
And in UP, the philosophy course is yung logic
right.
and B and then may parentheses and ganyan. And in that same semester, bumabagsak ako sa Math 17 and I just couldn't deal
Ah,
with it. And
math
so,
is intimidating.
but at the same time, I am since college, I've been reading philosophy books. I mean, parang great philosophical thinkers and all of this stuff. And so the challenge was the academic philosophy that I was presented with, which was logic, parang building blocks of logic and all this stuff, was drastically different from the philosophy that appealed to me.
Yeah.
Which is yung parang Plato, ang arte, pero Plato, Aristotle, utilitarianism, deontology, Kant and stuff. But I wound up taking a lot of literary theory classes. And
Right.
anyone who's had to take literary theory understands that most literary theory is actually based in politics, or yung critical theory, as a discipline in 20th century critical theory is actually philosophy,
Yes.
right? It's just sort of differently named, but the practices are pretty much the same. So I've my background is in literature, and but the reading has been in philosophy for over 20 years. This whole time I have been dipping in and out, but again, like, that's part of this kind of weird background that I bring, that is rooted in I was for a time a political science major. I have a significant number of units in
How were you
the
did you
create
shift
with
from
a
pol sci to
degree in
something else?
English, ganyan. Yeah. So it's a political science to English.
Okay.
So I have a BA in English, but I was also the chair of a political science organization in UP.
Okay.
Samahan sa Agham Pampolitika. So I stuck around there long enough, but then I shifted over to creative writing. Um, in my master's, I took an MA in creative writing as opposed to an MFA. So maarte yung UP about that. It's a master's. It's a master's degree as opposed to MFA. So maraming literary theory din on that level. I'm making light of it, but hindi siya madali. Ganun. It always
No, no,
seems
no.
easy to say, like, people always make fun of the comparative literature, but like when you have to do it, it's not the easiest thing. Although connected to that, no, I just saw somewhere this week na the review of related literature is going to disappear thanks to Gen AI, whatever.
Well, you know what? Sige, that's a great tangent, no? And maybe we jump around a lot, just to keep it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One thing that I see as a trend, and this has to do with your story actually, is how AI helps people transcend all of these parang silos, especially in disciplines. No? For example,
Yeah.
there's actually a term, and I bookmarked this now. Or maybe I'll reshare it along with the show notes for this podcast. There's a term called epistemic trespassing. You remember that? It's an
Okay.
issue. It's
Yeah.
an
Okay.
issue where experts in one field cross over to another field which may or may not be knowledgeable, and they sound credible. We saw this a
I
lot
love that.
in the pandemic. You know, you
Mm-mm.
have all of these data scientists, physicists crossing over into epidemiology. I mean, I
Mm-mm.
had to take
Mm-mm.
an epidemiology course myself during the pandemic because we were doing a lot of work in health, public health. But my actual background, which many people find surprising, is business administration, accounting. No, I took accounting. I never practiced accounting, and now without really deliberately intending it, honestly, I seem to be in the nexus of a lot of things, no? Just like data science made scientists of many people, I think this AI ethics will make philosophers of many people. And anyway,
Yeah.
and the point is, in the early days, I don't get this a lot nowadays, no? But in the early days of my own journey, I mean, this is circa probably early 2000s pa nga. There's a lot of turfing. I got a lot of turfing. Like, what the hell does Ligot know about
Yes.
science?
Yes.
And then later, what the hell does Ligot know about X? And then later, it became very industry driven. And in a bit, tell me how you felt about this.
Mm.
Parang, si Ligot, he's private sector, doesn't know anything about academia. Suddenly, I co-authored a master's degree. So suddenly, I'm an academic. And then in other sectors who don't
Mm.
know where I came from, si Ligot, he's an academic. What the hell does he know about private sector? No? And then getting involved in public health, dealing with NGOs. Ligot is actually for profit.
Yeah.
What does he know about NGOs? Alam mo yun, parang this natural
Wow.
turfing,
Okay, nun. Okay.
talagang ang dami. But sticking to your guns or my
Yeah.
guns, data and now AI, actually it enables people to like me to cut across disciplines. And actually I don't even feel the
Yeah.
silos anymore, no. And I don't hear the turfing too much whenever I'm in the room. Baka they just keep it to themselves. Pero it was an interesting experience, no. Ikaw, do you have a perspective on that, like turfing and all these
So,
silos?
three quick thoughts. Epistemic trespassing is a great band name. um,
Yeah, it's an
two,
album.
ganda, di ba? Parang 80s band, Epistemic Trespasses. Ganun. To what it sounds to me, and honestly, like, again, I have this weird background, and this may make it sound weirder or even pretentious, but I've, I've I love the term Renaissance man, and I've always loved the idea of a Renaissance man, and whatever, man, woman, whatever. Pero yung idea na yun na wala namang epistemic turfing nung panahon ni Da Vinci. And Aristotle was into biology as much as he was into philosophy, as much as he was into theater. Right? We go back as far as Aristotle to see, like, curiosity, academic rigor. Those are the values. No? And so the last bit, yeah, kasi I spent a significant amount of time in academia. I still teach, and there used to be turfing, and you could feel it, ito yung teorya na nangingibabaw. So if you are the mentor of, if this person is your mentor, mas likely yung advance mo in this, and these are the prevailing. But when we think about right now, like, well, as you were saying this, I was like, but what about like behavioral economics, which iba, is literally like the trespassing of these two of psychology and economics practice into each other, iba? Like, but it's just a mixing of social sciences. So I feel like all of this is going to collapse with not necessarily collapse. Like you'll still have departments with specializations, but the crossing will be easier. And I think if we have learned anything in the last 5 to 6 years, the more that you're able to borrow from other fields, like the freshness of that is going to help. So parang depth in one thing and then ability to cross is going to build new ways of working and new ways of thinking.
I certainly echo this. And in fact, one of our no one remembers this anymore, but one of our works back in during the pandemic era, such a rich laboratory kasi, is how we actually borrowed from the practice of epidemiology, which we were exposed, and brought it to other fields, no? Like we did, like there's a term now called
Mm,
infodemics or infodemiology. Or actually, infodemic was the term, and
mm,
we helped coin the term
yeah, yeah.
infodemiology. I can't claim to be the first. I think there were papers written about
Okay.
infodemiology dati. Pero it's like treating information as a virus or bacteria that spreads. So,
Yeah. Oh,
the
wow.
premise was, I mean,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
probably another episode where we can geek out on this, but the
Mm,
premise was, if information spreads like a virus, maybe we can track that spread with the tools of epidemics, epidemic measurement. So we did that. Di
yeah.
ba, naalala mo dati, there was this term called R naught, no, or RT, which is the
Yes.
reproductive
Yeah.
number. For every one person sick, how
Yeah.
many more people will get sick, no? And we were very privy to that
Yes.
calculation. We were working with, health scientists and doctors. Ang tanong lang is, what is the data set? So, social media is perfect as a data
Right.
set, no? So, I say, okay, if we
Yeah.
can track cases, miss na, of people sick, and then substitute that with people spreading, kunyari, a meme about Pepsi Paloma or
Yeah.
whatever,
Yeah.
uh, then we can calculate the R
Aha
naught,
nga.
no?
Aha.
So that's one. And there was another analysis we did,
Galing. Yeah.
borrowing contact tracing naman. So contact tracing, 'di ba, you want to know who patient zero is, and you do network analysis to
Yeah.
trace, and then you can analyze then the structure of the network to see if it's, a network that tends to spread information or tends to keep it depending on
Mm-hmm.
how people are. So sabi ko, okay, we can do contact tracing on memes or on disinformation. Who was the first person to
Mm-hmm.
say COVID had HIV, parang proteins ng mga ganyan.
Yeah.
And then lastly, this was the
Uh,
most compelling, admittedly a work in progress. The same way virologists track mutations. Kasi
mm.
you can just you can generalize viruses as just a collection of proteins na. Yung sa DNA, CG80, no?
Yeah.
But instead of protein sequences, we said, what if we substitute words and phrases as the protein sequences and track how many instances of this particular string of words? This is predating ChatGPT pa, which in a way now in
Mm-hmm.
hindsight makes sense now kasi large language models are essentially that. And we can say, okay, how did a string like COVID has HIV become later, COVID was a bioweapon, become later as, COVID is actually a tool
Oh.
for the Illuminati to control population. So it's just
Yeah.
parang a mutation
The
in the word sequence.
uh,
Pero we use that to trace, no? We could use that technically to trace the lineage of an idea. Na itong nangyari na to, dito nang galing tong original to. Anyway, we published that. I mean, it's an interesting piece,
ganda.
body of work. I'm just saying that what you're saying about borrowing from one discipline and bringing it to another is essentially what data and AI can be about, no? And
Yeah.
traditionally, academics and disciplines were not accepting of that. Nowadays, nga, they seem to be relatively quiet about it.
So I don't know because I spend enough time in there, but I know well enough now. It's not just academe. It's there are spaces that are incredibly protective of this, and I do know that the way that technology is evolving now makes people even more protective about that where they are And so parang part of this journey is going to be factoring in all of those sensitivities and caring for where people are and understanding where they are, but showing them how to move forward within this new space. Because I think we're both agreed that this space is where technology is driving us is going to be inevitable. There's no putting the genie back in the bottle. There's no bringing it back to some earlier time. Yung sa Silicon Valley, di ba, they signed for that slowdown, and then no one slowed down.
Yun nga eh. PR
It's
lang ba
not
yun?
slowing down, and rather than us, di ba? Wala PR, like, di ba? And it's funny kasi sila yung nagpirmahan, ta sila din nila nag-violate, like just as fast, which shows like game theory wise you can't trust each other, which is a different problem. But the sitting where we are in Southeast Asia, in the Philippines, with no representative dun sa signing na yun that I know of, or no strong voice there. Kasi pag naglistahan tayo ng top voices in AI, you know that most of them are based in the Bay Area and all this stuff there. But
California.
we
California.
we can't be ground down. Parang user lang yung role natin. I do believe that we need to be more, we need to involve ourselves. We need to invite ourselves to the table, and that sort of for us to not be like passive in this transition.
I mean, I would certainly echo that. Those are part of the things na, anyway, just to update everyone, that I've started to work with Carl about. So maybe at this point, Carl, we can start talking about data ethics, no? PH. And by the way, in case people haven't heard, Carl is now our AI ethicist, no, in data ethics PH. Can you talk a little bit about what you expect to do within that role? And any thoughts around, because data ethics is kind of an advocacy that we've had for going on 5 years already. And how do we spin that off in an era where data and AI is pervasive? No, una parang it sounded funny pa nga. Like, what? Data ethics? What the hell is that? Now it's kind of rolling off the tongue, everyone's tongue, naturally. Pero I don't think people really have internalized it enough. No? It's not a very common topic. But anyway, in your view, how do you see data ethics playing out?
Well, I think when we first interacted in these online fora, I know it was during the pandemic, and it was a lot for us about disinformation network, cybersecurity, and then security for journalists, yung in which I have interacted with you before. And so it's been a slow process of discovery for me, because the concerns before were very different. Yung, all right, if I have a source, how am I keeping this source safe? And what are me that I can move in, which were more practical rather than ethical. And reflecting upon it, syempre mas higher standard yung ethical standards than practical standards.
Yeah.
And so the fact we need to keep going back to ethical thinking, or maybe we need to begin conversations at the ethical level, then understand what is practical. But the idea there was, I had been trying to make an impact in journalism for the last few years, especially in the face of disinformation and in these really, really challenging, like in this challenging media landscape.
Yeah, exactly.
And once I stepped away from my role and I started to pull back, and it's like, well, maybe it's not the disinformation that I can most have an impact on, but what is behind this disinformation? It's the system for it. And then when you pull back, then that's actually the ethical systems that are in play. And seeing how AI is evolving and how data is being mined and we are not aware of it. Ako, I for the most part for the last 5-6 years, like how many times have I posted my thoughts on Twitter or Facebook /Meta/X, ganyan. Diba? Like, without thinking that all of those thoughts and random things have been used to build LLMs, right? Without my permission, without my say-so, without my signing away, And so it's almost like a process of being evangelized in the way that you discover a new religion and suddenly you're fired up about your religion, so you want to convert people. I would say that's where I am in this journey, where it is it's an awareness, and then you begin to study, and then suddenly you become an advocate and you feel like you need to convert people. And so where I feel the start is, because my background is in writing and communicating, is first building awareness, building understanding about our AI rights, about the ethical processes through which we can move in the world. Because sometimes as a na if you're not using AI, you're getting left behind. Tama naman yan that we should use it. But how should we use it? And things are we putting out there? I'm sure that a lot of people who are probably not on this channel, but a lot of people who are using ChatGPT are unaware of how ChatGPT is also taking what you're putting there, unless you're on a paid plan, and they're using it to build up the next model. Diba? So you're technically paying them so that you can be part of building their next model. And maybe that's why it's only $20, but that's part of the conversation. One of the conversations that we need to be having, no? Yeah.
Alam mo, ano nga, just talking about ChatGPT, no, and all of these new tools, two things come to mind. First is, alam mo dati, in the era of social media certainly had changed the game. Well, or social networks used to be
Yes.
called social networks and social media. Pero people didn't realize social media was free because you are the product being sold to advertisers.
Yeah.
Now in ChatGPT, it kind of broke both ends, no? You are the product, but you're also paying. Parang, what? Parang nangyayari ngayon. It's your data is being used to serve to other users who are also paying for the privilege of using that data. It kind of blows my mind, no, na they actually figure out a way of doing that. But then the other point, going back to your statements, I really think content has a big part to play. Kaya nga was really excited when we had our first discussion and we had a meeting of the minds. Na someone and for example, Puma Podcast was essentially that, no? At least that's my perception when you guys launched that years ago. There were very little, at least locally produced venues to explore issues. So I think that's a massive skill that potentially we can use within the data and AI ethics space.
Yeah.
Anyway, sige, maybe I'll ask a direct question, no? From your perspective, what kind of behavior do you think we should try to influence? Kasi I know a lot of people listening, or those who follow me, are just completely overwhelmed by the stuff I share, no? And they're happy to just absorb and expunge it up. Pero that's the parang level 1 lang yun eh. What I actually want to do is change how they interact with these tools. You know, we want more adoption, responsible adoption. We want policies to be written, mga ganyan. So ikaw, anong mga behaviors or thoughts on how you want to change this landscape?
So, connecting this to and things like that, no? Parang part of the conversation during COVID was it was always individualized. Yung individuals need to take care of this. Mag-mask ka, mag-face shield ka, mag-ganyan. Pag it's probably your fault kasi lumabas ka. Institutional. I think I froze. I think
Yeah,
I'm
the
back.
signal dropped a bit. Yeah, you can hear what you just said?
Yeah, so I think where right now it's very individualized. Are you using AI? How do you use it? And ganyan. But I think leaders need to start implementing on the team level or level, and hopefully at the higher industry and policy levels. But one thing that I would love, and I know because your listeners are going to be on multiple levels of the value chain, of the management levels, of things like that. And if you're a lead AI policy within your organization to make sure that your organization is acting ethically. And so that's where I see us beginning the work, is having conversation with leaders so that they can adopt, or adopt framework so that they can think ethically. And then we can provide them with tools, checklists, that allow them to begin the transformation towards a more ethical approach. So yung ethics is one level. Sure also that they are not compromised, because I think that is important. Like the level of data that we're putting out there and the vulnerabilities that we expose our companies to is really important. So I do think at the personal level, but because I have, just run a company for a few years, inevitably inisip ko yung company level, PR, safety, security, all those things.
Yeah, I want to ask you about the B2B or the institutional side of things, kasi I noticed the audience is rather split. Like for example, the people who follow me on Facebook, I think these are mostly individuals, no? Or they may represent a company, but they're really just there for themselves. And the interest is really, how does AI improve me? My career, my health, my relationships, if ever. I mean, I started posting about mga AI relationships then. On LinkedIn naman, understandably, these are the corporate set, no? These are executives, or those looking, those to look to move up in corporate. I honestly am still struggling to find that voice that is relevant within that set. One issue that comes up quite often is the jobs question. Are people going to lose their jobs, or what about skills, mga ganyan. So I agree with that. But that's not necessarily just ethics, that's economics, that's process. And certainly we will talk about that. Pero what's the angle for companies, no? I mean, we discussed parang certifying something. Do you have any ideas or thoughts on that, no, while we work it out?
So multiple levels, no? One thing is where AI will wind up eventually. That's that big existential question of what if that's the case, yung parang what will humanity be? How are we building companies that will be ready for it? And I think the taking, right, as data ethics PHs, we don't necessarily have the answers at every stage, but we will be providing frameworks to be thinking at every stage. Kung ito yung current technology ngayon, how can we think about how we are adopting it into our everyday living, workflow, etc., etc. But also, we can't be designing for today, because I think I don't know how recent it was na I watched a video of Elon Musk saying that we have attained AGI. I think it was this morning. He was claiming that we have attained AGI, and so I was writing an essay. Close we are to AGI, and if we're already there, then the converse. So I think that where we want to position ourselves, and how businesses and executive to think about how these things are going to affect your business. And the reason why we talk about ethical framework is because, again, parang businesses should not just businesses are about the bottom line, but they are also built on business values and ethical behavior moving forward. I guess one thing to talk about is na policy is something that we'll need to wait for, but ethical behavior puts you ahead of any kind of policy development. And in fact, if you're moving ethically, then in all likelihood, once policy is implemented, you have something even better. And the example I have for that is gender policy. Having helped to develop and implement gender policies in the places I helped, or mental health policies or things like that, you as a company can be forward and moving ethically. By the time that the government passes something, naunahan mo na. Ready ka na. Hindi mo na kailangan mag-adjust sa policies. But eventually, we do hope to influence policy so that policy is faster, more responsive, but policy will always be slow because it's important for policy to be slow.
You
Right.
know,
Daming napuntahan nun, but I hope that
yeah,
that is
no,
helpful.
no, no, it's great eh. Well, first on the AGI thing, I'll adopt a skeptical perspective on that for now, no, and eventually I'll probably be proven wrong. But
Mm,
I know kasi there is a capitalist pressure to produce AGI. That's a problem. Kunyari, it's part of the terms and
yes.
conditions ni OpenAI and Azure and Microsoft. Now, once they achieve AGI,
Yeah.
Microsoft has no claim on their IP.
Yeah.
So talagang may pressure. And then you know how
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk is kind of anti-open AI because of, whatever happened in the past.
Mm,
So that gives me this sort
mm.
of this parang kryptonite shield na okay, AGI. In the same manner, quantum is another one of those na okay, quantum. Sige. Until further notice, no. And then eventually when they actually find it,
Definitional din eh,
yeah,
right?
they keep moving the goalposts about.
Yeah, exactly. So you can claim it's AGI because ito yung definition mo right now, right? Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Meron nga ako nabasa na AGI is defined as any AI that produces $300 billion. Like, okay, that doesn't really sound like the
Oh
AGI.
yeah, I saw that also. Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, sige, you jumped into policy. You wanna think about that, no? Kasi traditionally, at least for me, I would rather government stay away from technology and innovation, or rather stay away from parang messing with it, no? Kasi the moment you have, the worst thing that could happen is like state controlled or state sponsored AI. But then on the flip side, considering AI has a lot of grounds, a lot of abuses already by now, deepfakes, disinformation, identity theft, etc. No, and we can certainly talk about that eventually. The ability of AI, the promise of AI for economic gain or advantage or development, I think it's just too hard to ignore, and that's where policy can and should come in. Kaya I'm a bit of a I'm on the fence but pro policy in the sense that if you get harmed by AI, who do you complain to? Kahit papaano, you need some recourse, no? You
Exactly.
need a venue for redress. And then I just have to say it. I think Philippines lalo is a bit too chill about AI to our detriment, no? And of course, maybe me with my proximity currently to the BPO sector, I'm seeing it. This is a healthy engine right now. It's chugging along, call centers, back office, and everyone now keeps saying, "Oh, these guys are gonna get wiped out." And I don't
Yeah.
necessarily think it's gonna happen like overnight. There are signs that it could or scenarios that it could happen, but they have not really played out. But the fact that everyone else, including the IMF, is saying that, parang current events, and
Yeah. Yeah.
government is not moving to do anything, it blows my mind, no? Of course, politics aside, syempre.
So quickly, one, I was one of those BPO doomers mga 2 years ago. Wala na. Wala na BPO industry after this kasi what's the point if like ganyan? But really, I still prefer a customer service person than and then parang customer service person supported by AI is still better for me than a straight up bot. So far. And who knows where that is, but that's an important thing. But more largely, one, I'm sure that we could always argue what we believe the scope of government should be. But on one level that I think everybody should be able to agree is that the government should provide safeguards and guardrails so that the most vulnerable are not left behind.
Right.
And let's just be honest about it. Our government has not been great about not leaving people behind. But the way that people have the potential to be left behind is astronomical when you think about how limited yung internet, limited ang education sa rural areas, what happens with the advance of AI. So this is a thing that government should be thinking about. And I think, I don't know what the policy should be, but maybe that's why I want us to start that conversation on what should the policy be so that, like, diba, the conversation in the West is UBI na ba? Like, is that the only solution to just the immensity of what's going to happen? That's one. But also, apart from, yes, if government meddles, it can be a problem, it can be a hindrance. But if you have a progressive thinking government that appoints the right people and makes the right investments, we can be involved in this. Kasi, right, we've been called a laggard in so many things. The Philippines has fallen behind objectively. If you look at, diba, we can bring in JC if ever we wanted to talk about how the Philippines
The
falls behind
stats, ano, yeah,
economically, because I'm not the person,
horrible.
right? But again, we're banging the drum on this advocacy of data AI ethics, because ethics as the broader framework for development, as just an easy catch-all term for moving forward, where this technological advance is beneficial to all. Yun yung basic, di ba? So AI just becomes a stand-in for how do we make it so that it's good for everybody and people aren't being left behind. And so that's where I believe policy can be most impactful. And that's maybe a naive or a optimistic view of policy. Pero total, nasa advocacy space naman tayo. We might as well take these kinds of stances, because otherwise, if not, then we wouldn't be in an advocacy space. And two, medyo Terminator na lang, di ba? Parang just hand it off, or like, let's just have WAL-E, right? Like, that's the other option, is WAL-E na lang. Let's just let the computers run everything, because they'll probably run it better than we do. So I do think na advocacy and policy design are going to be integral to the conversation, but we need to get ahead of it sooner rather than later.
Ako,
Parang akong politiko pala, no? Parang akong nangangampanya.
no. In a way, we have to be a bit of a politician in this space, no? Now, I'm just thinking out loud. Kasi minsan people mistake what policy is for. And my view on this is, first and foremost, policy steps in when market forces are totally unable to produce positive outcomes. No? Kunyari, market
Okay,
forces kasi are driven by profit, no? Or avoidance of losses. Pero if it's profitable to do bad things, policy na ang papasok dapat na. Nope,
Yes,
you can't do that. And then another place is policy comes in when abuses happen.
Yeah.
You need to stop abuse. And market forces encourage abuse. Let's just put it out there.
Yes, they
And
do.
thirdly, policy comes in when there's no money to be made, at least initially, in a particular initiative. Like parang the whole argument about space exploration dati, si Neil deGrasse Tyson made this. Na he was totally anti-SpaceX because sabi niya, there's no money to be made in space. So there's no incentive for private sector to come in and invest. Until finally, SpaceX figured out the economics and now they're making tons of money, doing launches.
Yeah.
So ang point niya is initially
Yeah.
space that should be more of government driven first, and then pag meron ng ecosystem, you can set it in. Now if we apply those
Yes.
three analogies to the AI space, there is a market for sa AI, but I don't think it's all beneficial. Policy should step in. There are AI abuses, therefore policy should step in. On the market forces also, for some reason, and I think we need another chat to talk about this. I don't think the innovation ecosystem is viable for many companies right now. No, having run a startup myself,
Yeah.
the grants are few and far in between. The market isn't conducive to AI services. And you can never hope to beat the California startups because they have access to all the best, not just talent, but equipment.
Yeah.
So if you want to build that ecosystem dito, you need policy to step in, no? Incentives
Yes.
come in. And then thirdly, yung the whole idea of if there's no money to be made, then policy steps in. I think there is money to be made, pero we're so behind the curve in terms of creating that viable ecosystem. Now you have to think about how did BPOs, for example, come into being in the first place? Policy. You removed taxes on outsourcing. You exempt them from foreign ownership limits, which is a contentious topic sa economics right now and policy. By doing that, in less than 20 years, you built a new middle class of BPO workers.
Yes.
So something like that ang naisip ko. And there could be more. That's not an exhaustive list of why policy is important to AI. No? So anyway, your take on that, no? Parang do you envisage data ethics PH and policy coming into, intersection in the near future? And how do we do it?
That is that is my hope, because my hope is really that we are at the forefront of thinking around these issues.
Yeah.
And so, thinking leading to policy. Kasi like I said earlier, it's nice to be a philosopher, but it cannot end with just thinking about it. It needs to be something that is put into action in life, and ideally in ways that are impactful. And that's how I do hope that data ethics PH will be impactful, is that we that you talk to when you want to think about what the big issues are. And this isn't to say that this isn't to say that people aren't already thinking. And two, it isn't to say that you can't LLM and study this yourself. But we want to be the people that you can talk to if you want to be thinking about policy development. And the thing is, yung policy development na yan, that can be on the simple level of company policy, company AI policy. It can be on the level of barangay, city, but also national policy. And figuring out, like, I would hope that whoever your listeners are, like, if you are advising anybody, maybe let's start having these conversations so that we can start building AI policy, knowing that policy will take so long, diba? There's nothing that doesn't incentivize us to get started having these conversations now.
Yeah.
Sales pitch na. From politiko kanina, sales pitch.
Congressman Carl Javier. But sige. We still have a few more minutes. Maybe I want to pick your brain on sectoral type reforms, no? I mean, some of the usual suspects that I usually identify are the education sector needs an overhaul because AI is both threatening it and undermining it, and also potentially a game changer. The journalists you work with a lot, I think that's also another sector that is undergoing massive change, not just because of AI per se, but I think the economics of it has changed, and the nature of how people appreciate truth in the era of social media. Like, diba, parang a couple of days ago, Meta basically junked all of the fact checkers for the US, no? And then the third is squarely No, I was going to say the third sector, which is squarely in your space, is the creative industry. Artists, writers, comics. You're into comics. So can you talk about some of those things, like education, journalism, and creatives?
Sure. So very quickly, and again, like, this is why we are starting the conversation at Data Ethics PH, and not how we're ending the conversation or giving answers. But I think every single educational institution is grappling with what is education moving forward. That's one. Two, what I see is like teachers posting, itong mga estudyante ko, and like they're just making ChatGPT do it. One, sure, that feels academically dishonest, but that's not what we need to take away from it. The takeaway right now is also, how do we make tools so that we can catch the students who are using AI? That's not it. The truth of the matter is that sooner rather than later, like, AI is going to be more prevalent than the calculator in terms of what students are using every day in the classroom. And so it's not a matter of not of stopping them, but understanding how we continue to make education important. And then tataas na naman yung question. And really the big question is, what does education look like in a post-AI world? Which brings us to the question of, what is humanity's function in an AI world? And therefore, what would we be educating for? Ang lawak lang. And so the imagination needs to be bigger. And so I would love for us to start talking to educational institutions in helping to imagine what the function is. Kasi right now, the function is, okay, mag-aaral ka, you go to university so you can get this degree, so you can get this job. But what if that job doesn't exist anymore? What if we can't imagine what the job is? My last job posting was podcast CEO, which did not exist when I was an undergrad.
Yeah, that was
and now
not
I'm
a
an
job.
AI ethicist. And that also did not exist. Diba? That was not a job 10 years ago. So we don't know what we're educating for. So the question is, what is education for? That's one. For journalism naman, we know, like, I think it's Ben Smith, he has he has this book on like basically our inability to adapt to social media and like basically the collapse of where media is now because of the undervaluation, post-truth, all of this stuff, right? And so what we need to understand is what was valuable about journalism that people were going to. And sa totoo lang, no one wants to make that investment because the numbers aren't there, right? It's much easier for a brand to throw money at an influencer that is safe and all of that. And because those influencers have much stronger reach than journalists, kahit anong gawin natin. But that's the thing though, right? Like, by the same token, fashion influencer. And yet, you will still want to talk to a fashion influencer. Sorry, a business influencer at some point. So it doesn't mean that you abandon all of these spaces. Journalism, you and I, we work very deeply and very closely with journalists. We need to help figure out what that looks like because the model is broken, the production is challenging. Good journalism takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of talent, hard work, and unfortunately, brands and other sources are not willing to pay for it. So, kailangan natin itawid yan. How does that get easier with AI? But also, what are the developments that, like, what does journalism need to look like in an AI world? Ayun nga, di ba? Hindi pa rin natin alam. And then the last one, creatives. And the thing is, right now, and I don't know for how long, pero kaya pang panindigan ng creatives yung it'll never be as creative, it won't be as funny, it won't be as humanizing, ganyan. But what I actually believe for creatives, where I believe that needs to go is where athletics is going, which is parang no one is saying, I don't want to watch people do gymnastics anymore kung meron namang robot na gagawa ng ganyang klaseng gymnastics. We still love to see human achievement and human ability and human excellence. And so I think that's what creativity needs to be. I dabble in film, and one of the most powerful things for me is going into like an experimental film and then being reminded about someone else's imagination and connecting to that. So it's going to be asking, how do our imaginations evolve, become enriched, reach new capacities through AI? So each of those has a different thing. And I'm so glad that you brought it up kasi nga, these are three different worlds that I have in, and there are three worlds that are going to be terribly disrupted. And the top line for each of these worlds is, wala nang kwenta yan pag may AI na. Di ba? Lalo na sa creative, yung, why would I even bother with that when I can tell the AI, I want to watch a TV show that features these actors and then ito yung plot and ganon. Because I have to believe that sometimes I still surprised by art. People will want to I don't think anyone said, you know what I want to see? A movie about Oppenheimer. No one said, I want to see a 3-hour movie about Oppenheimer. And no one said, I want to see a 3.5-hour movie about parang yung Killers of the Flower Moon. But I loved those and I felt like I was interacting and to the same degree, Filipino film. I want to see myself in these things. So parang medyo corny, but how can AI increase our humanity? Yun yung approach ko for each of these things. Ang drama bigla.
We're not. No. This stuff is just triggering a lot of more ideas. So certainly we'll have another episode for a lot of these. But one of the things about, let's say, being creative, what does that really mean? And I think my view is we overhype the notion of originality. When in many cases,
Yes.
especially in the commercial creative fields, like commercial photography, commercial copywriting, many of these, sorry to say it, professionals just recycle patterns and then you just add a little bit of pepper on the pattern and then suddenly you have something new. So that's exactly what AI is very good at, just recycling patterns, adding a little bit of flair. Kaya I liken it to the photography moment and to music, no? The photography moment for art was essentially doing very much better what a painting was trying to achieve, which is capture reality, no? If you look at
Mm.
most art before photography, it was literally painting photographs. We were trying to capture reality as real as possible. Rembrandt, Leonardo da Vinci, etc. And then
Yes.
after photography, parang ang pakiramdam ko, sumuko na lang yung mga painters na, you know what, we're never gonna beat photography. Let's just do other things. Pointillism, surrealism, impressionism. They just
Yes.
decomposed art, which is
Uh,
good for art, no? So I feel that's a good promise.
yes.
Now, if AI is able to do what we're all struggling to do and do it at a better level than we all can, we will naturally find another parang outlet. Yun yung hope. But then the
Mm.
music moment naman, and you're both a musician, artist, and creative, no? So tell me also about this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was forced to study piano when I was a kid, like many of us. We all have
Okay.
that notion of chords, arpeggios, minor,
Mm-hmm.
major, um, and it's your ability to just string these patterns together, and then 88 keys in a piano, and you now can produce unlimited music. So musicians
Yes.
are comfortable with pattern recycling. Sabi ko nga, in music, if you do a rendition of a song of some other artist, it's actually a tribute, it's a cover. But everywhere else, it's plagiarism. So, uh, 'cause I feel that this notion of creativity, it's gonna change. Kaya nga itong it's never gonna be creative enough, really. But if it's recycling patterns better than you, then by definition, it's more
Yeah.
creative than you. I mean, a lot of creatives bristle at that. I was in another podcast and I showed them, parang, ito, ginawa ko, artificial AI influencer. And, people hated it, no?
Mm.
But in every other form, like, wow, no? Paano mo nagawa yan, no? So, do you agree with that? Or do you have a take on that? Like, the definition of creativity?
Well, kasi like I don't know if it was maybe 2 years ago, yung kinasuhan si Ed Sheeran for his chord
Using a
progression.
progression, tama.
Um, yeah, and then he went into the courtroom, and then he just played the same progression, and then just the same progression across centuries.
It's the same thing.
And
Everyone uses it. Yeah.
dapat we go to that original text. So what that says to me is that the originality is in the creative voice. Yung what is that person trying. That's why I love your painting example. Yung it's not about capturing na what that is. Ako, I love expressionism and I love modern art because it's about the person creating love the idea of creative vision and how you're interpreting. And it's the same with music. I don't go to live music so that I can hear them play the exact same thing na nasa record. I love human performance because it's in the may moment sila. They feel something that night and there's something there and I get to connect with it. So again, all of these things are great, but it shows that if like if I need my music to be functional, mag-aaral ako, I need deep focus and I can create something that gives me that deep focus. Great. But and then or 'di ba? Parang or I'm making a presentation and this presentation meron akong emotion peg na gusto. Okay, sige kasi mabilisan for that presentation. But then it advances the value of the human performance. The human performance can do something very different. That's part of that philosophical discussion of what is it that's different? What is it there? And then maybe magkakaroon ng gaps and then AI sits. It's in the idea that there are functions for the AI created thing and there's still functions for the human connection thing.
Yeah. Kaya nga, we definitely need another chat to deep dive into that. I was talking to, I don't know if you know Peachy Paking before, no? She was head of Ogilvy Manila. And she had very, very bitter words to say about creatives in the Philippines. And
Ah,
and that was even before we got into talking about artificial intelligence. Would be nice. Maybe we can do a three-way about creativity. But anyway,
sure.
we're at the hour, bilis. Maybe as a good wrap up,
Yeah.
um, I'd love to hear your own parang ano, what's your personal parang stake in this? No, this is obviously another evolution for you after your track record in education, podcasts, creativity, film, and then now diving into AI and data ethics. What's in it for you, or what are you hoping to achieve on a personal level?
Uh, Ganda ng tanong because in I am obsessed with the idea and I haven't really built out any personal gain apart from the working on something that I find is going to be important in the world. And maybe that's what it is I teach because I feel like teaching is important. I was in journalism because I felt like podcasts as a medium are going to be very important in the world. Uh, I don't think any of that was wrong so far. And so I think that data and AI ethics has been important, but not in the spotlight. And I think one, it's going to be important to put it in the spotlight. I'm going to live in a more ethical world if we get it right. Because if we don't get it right, we're all going to be living in a really crappy world. So without the proper philosophical, ethical frameworks as we build this new world, it won't work for us. So this right now, as we are in a transition period, if we get in now and we start building together now, then it's going to be a world that's better for all of us. And then we can have the optimistic thing of, and then we expand into the universe and we see what humanity truly is. That's big and fuzzy and optimistic, but that's what's in it for me.
Well, yeah, obviously. Plus, we hope our internet connectivity gets better. That's our ano.
Oh man,
Sige, I think that's a great enough place to end as any. I want to thank Carl Joe Javier for joining
thanks.
us. Yeah, and stay tuned. You know, we've got a lot of things lined up for Data Ethics PH. I'm looking forward to collaborating with Carl. Thanks a lot, Carl, and let's have another conversation very soon.
Thanks, Doc.